Alright, we are over in section 10 once again in Woodlawn Cemetery, coming up to the grave sites of several Ford family members of Henry Ford fame. Over here is, I believe, let's see, it's Bryant. It's actually Edsel Bryant Ford and Eleanor Clay Ford. I believe they were the son. I believe Edsel was the son of Henry Ford, and Eleanor Clay Ford was his wife. Was Edsel's wife. They had a lot to do with philanthropy type, charitable type giving in the Detroit area back in the day. So they gave a lot to the Detroit Institute of Arts, among other things. And over here is a future gravesite Ford, who is now the chairman of Ford Motor Company, and it appears his wife is going to be buried here as well, Martha Firestone Ford. And right here it appears someone by the name of Linda Ford. Might have been like Edsel and Eleanor's daughter or something. I'm not sure. Then over here, see if I can get over there. Let me stop. Then over here is, I'm trying to remember, it's a Ford family member. Let's take a walk behind here for a minute. It is Benson Ford and Edith Monagutin Ford, I think. I think they were one of Henry Ford's other children, but I'm not too sure. I got to research this a little bit more. Needless to say, this is where William Clay Ford will be buried once he dies, whenever that'll be. And several other relatives of the Ford family are already buried here. So there you go. Alright, over here is the gravesite of John Lord Booth. He was president of Booth Broadcasting, which owned several radio stations throughout Michigan. He was also an early pioneer of cable television here in the state. He was born in 1907 and died in 1994. I'm going to take a closer look up here. As you can see, what we're approaching right now is the family crest on the granite monument. And down below here is his gravesite. It's kind of hard to see because of the sunlight and the direction the sun's going right now, but right now we're coming up to the mausoleum of James Couzens. He was a U.S. Senator in Michigan, serving from 1922 until his death in 1936, and also served as mayor of Detroit from 1919 to 1922. Not much else is known about him other than his political careers, so we're going to take a walk up here real quick. So it's a pretty interesting monument. I like how it has the stairs here and that leads all the way up to the top. That's pretty interesting. But we're not going to go all the way up. We're about halfway right now. So here's his mausoleum, and here's a close-up view of the family name on the mausoleum rather. So alright, over here in section 25 of Woodlawn Cemetery, we are coming up to the gravesite of one Conrad Pfeiffer, whatever you want to call it. He was born in 1854 and died in 1911. Hope this person doesn't bother me. He was an immigrant from the German province of Hessian. He came to America in 1871 at the age of 17. Later on, after he arrived, or actually, God damn it! Oh, fuck. All right. When Conrad arrived to Detroit, the German population comprised of 15% of the general population here in Detroit. Several well-known Germans owned breweries, several German language newspapers, and a few banks. Conrad learned the brewing trade from the Pfeiffer Brewing Company, also of Detroit. In 1889, he founded his own company entitled the C. Pfeiffer Brewing Company, the C pretty much standing for Conrad. The brewery eventually became a major competitor to the Stroh Brewing Company, almost threatening their production and sales and all that, but needless to say, Stroh was a victor in that war. So here is the Pfeiffer mausoleum. Before I turned on my video camera here, I took a look in there, and it was very hard to see. But with that said, I'm gonna try to get it. I'm gonna zoom up here on the name. So, and it's a really interesting mausoleum. Here is the mausoleum of the Dodge brothers, both John Francis and Horace E. Dodge. John Francis was born on October 25th of 1864 and died on January 14th of 1920. Horace E. Dodge was born on May 17th of 1868 and died December 10th of also 1920. The Dodge brothers opened a large auto parts plant in the city of Hamtramck, which is located within the city limits of Detroit. The plant was one of the largest in the Detroit area, supplying auto parts to both the Olds Motor Works Company and the Ford Motor Company. The Dodge brothers eventually started their own automobile manufacturing company, which later was bought out by Chrysler in, I believe, the 1920s. John Francis Dodge was the owner of Meadowbrook Farms, which is now the location of where Oakland University is situated in Oakland County in Michigan here. John Francis Dodge died of the influenza virus in 1920, which led his wife to be a widow and a very wealthy one at that. Let's see what else is here. That's pretty much all the information I have right now. I believe Matilda Dodge Wilson, who was one of the Dodge brothers' wife, is buried in this mausoleum right here. But I do not have much information on her at the moment. But here are the Dodge brothers as they reside now in Woodlawn Cemetery. Okay, Enoch Wiggins was born in 1843 and died in 1907. He toured with the circus. In 1885, he opened Wonderland Theater, whose wax figures and wild animals fascinated children of all ages for years. In 1901, he closed the theater, unfortunately, and later pretty much devoted most of his time to the vaudeville section of the house with vaudeville actors and all that. He named the vaudeville section of the new theater Temple Theater. Some of the best vaudeville performers of the day, which included, but not limited to, Jack Benny, William Durante, Sophie Tucker, among others, performed at the Temple Theater. The theater was one of the best theaters outside of New York City, probably because of who performed there and whatnot, and probably the design of the building and the different acts that performed there. Anyways, this theater became the destination of pretty much any ambitious vaudevillian actor during the time in the early 19 teens and even before. So here's his gravesite, or mausoleum rather. So here he is.